In the dark stretches of space, where stars shone cold and distant, a cruel plan was being born. The alien species known as the Crowyth had watched Earth for many years, marking it as a threat that needed to be eliminated. The Crowyth were proud. Warriors skilled in battle and cunning in strategy, but humans were different from any foe they had faced before. Yet, they believed they had found a weapon that would end humanity quickly. Without the need for long, bloody wars, the weapon was invisible, silent, and deadly, a bioweapon designed to sweep across Earth like a silent plague. The Crowyth scientists engineered a virus unlike any natural disease, programmed to attack humans specifically. It would spread quickly, causing chaos and destruction, collapsing human society from within. The Crowyth thought of it as a gift, a deadly gift that would save countless lives by avoiding endless conflict. The virus was ready. The plan was set, but they did not know the truth about humans. When the virus first reached Earth, it came unnoticed. It spread quietly from person to person, like whispers passing through a crowd. At first, symptoms were mild: a scratchy throat, a slight cough, a hint of fatigue. Humans called it a cold, something they faced every year without fear. Doctors ran tests and found nothing unusual, just a common virus causing the usual seasonal sickness. The media reported it as nothing serious, and life went on. But beneath the surface, something strange was happening. The human immune system, unlike anything the Crowyth had anticipated, responded with surprising strength. Instead of succumbing, many humans fought the virus quickly, their bodies adapting to the attack. The virus failed to cause the deadly collapse the Crowyth had predicted. Spread, yes, but with limited harm. Many recovered fully, while others barely noticed any symptoms. What was meant to be a weapon of mass destruction was becoming a mild inconvenience. The Crowyth leaders grew confused and frustrated. Their scientists worked day and night trying to understand why the virus was not working as planned. Reports came in from their spies and scouts observing Earth humans were carrying the virus, spreading it but not falling as expected. The virus seemed harmless, almost weak. Some alien commanders whispered doubts. Was humanity stronger than they thought, or was there something else at work? Meanwhile, on Earth, people continued with their daily lives, unaware of the war being waged inside their bodies. The cold became a common topic of jokes and complaints, but no one feared. Its schools stayed open, businesses ran, and the world did not stop. Scientists and doctors studied the virus, trying to track its origin and behavior. They discovered unusual marker signs that it was not a natural virus but engineered. Panic began to grow quietly among some experts. The governments of Earth scrambled to respond. The truth of the alien bioweapon was too dangerous to reveal to the public, who might panic or lose hope. Behind closed doors, top scientists and military leaders met in secret, sharing what little information they had. They realized the virus was a test challenge sent by an enemy to see if humanity could be crushed without a fight. This revelation only hardened humanity's resolve. The world united in silent determination. Research teams raced to develop medicines and defenses, while military forces prepared for war that might come in many forms. Yet the virus, mild though it was, continued to spread. It was a shadow haunting Earth, a reminder of the enemy lurking in the stars. Then strange things began to happen. Some humans who had been infected started showing unusual changes. Their bodies fought harder, their senses sharpened, and their strength increased slightly. Doctors were baffled, but intrigued. The virus seemed to trigger something inside, a response that no one had seen before. It was as if the virus was not just attacking but awakening something primal within humanity. News of these cases leaked slowly, causing whispers and rumors. Some people called it a miracle, others a curse. The government tried to control the narrative, but the truth was too big to hide forever, across social media and secret forums. Discussions about the virus and its strange effects spread like wildfire. Meanwhile, the Crowyth watched with growing alarm. Their weapon had failed to bring Earth to its knees. Worse, it appeared to be making humans stronger. Panic spread among their ranks. They had underestimated the species they sought to destroy. The cold that was meant to kill had instead begun to forge humanity into something new, something dangerous. The Kroth commanders debated their next move. Should they try a new bioweapon, stronger and more deadly? Or should they prepare for open war, risking massive losses but hoping to end humanity's defiance? Fear crept into their decisions, a rare emotion for a species bred for war. On Earth, the virus continued its silent march. People adapted to it, developing natural resistances. Some scientists began to suspect that the virus was not a weapon to kill, but a challenge to test humanity's limits. It was a battle inside the body, a war of survival and adaptation. Military leaders saw an opportunity. If humans could turn this bioweapon against their enemies, the war could be won without endless bloodshed. Secret programs began to explore ways to use the virus as a tool of defense and offense. The world held its breath. What had started as a deadly gift from the stars had become humanity's secret weapon. A cold, simple, and weak to many had shown the universe that humans were not easily broken. The Krolith had sent a storm to crush humanity. But they did not expect that humans would dance in the rain and grow stronger with every drop. And so the silent war had begun, not just for Earth's survival, but for the soul of humanity itself. The virus, which the Krolith had expected to bring Earth to its knees, spread silently but steadily across the globe. It moved through cities and villages, aboard crowded ships and busy space stations, carried by people unaware of the storm inside their own bodies. The symptoms were familiar to humans: sniffles, coughs, slight fevers. Most dismissed it as the common cold, something they had survived countless times before. But beneath the surface, an invisible war raged, a battle between the alien virus and the human immune system. Earth's best scientists raced to understand what was happening. Labs filled with blinking machines and glowing screens. Teams of researchers worked day and night. They studied blood samples, analyzed genetic codes, and searched for the virus's weaknesses. What they found amazed and confused them. The virus was unlike any natural illness. It was engineered to attack humans, but it seemed almost confused by the human body. The immune systems fought back fiercely, evolving as fast as the virus tried to spread. In some cases, the virus triggered responses that actually made humans stronger, better able to resist other diseases and heal faster. Doctors called it a mystery. Military commanders called it a miracle. The public continued life as usual, though fear lingered quietly in the back of many minds. Meanwhile, secret government agencies around the world intensified their surveillance. They monitored the virus, tracked infections, and gathered data on its spread. Spies reported strange movements of Krolith vessels near key human colonies and research stations. It was clear the enemy had plans beyond just sending a virus unknown. To most humans, the virus had another purpose: a test. The Krolith commanders saw it as a way to measure human strength and break their will without risking ships and soldiers. They hoped that if the virus failed, they could try more destructive methods. If it succeeded, the war would be over before it began. But humans were not so easy to break. In the shadows, a group of elite scientists and military officers formed a secret coalition. Their mission was to turn the enemy's weapon against them too. Study the virus, find ways to modify it, and use it as a tool of war. These men and women worked with urgency and caution, knowing the dangers but driven by hope. Some scientists proposed bold ideas: genetically editing the virus to target the Krolith instead of humans. Others suggested using the virus to weaken enemy fleets before battles. Technology was risky, but so was the war itself. As the virus continued to spread, reports from human colonies beyond Earth showed signs of strange changes. Some colonists developed heightened senses, faster reflexes, and stronger endurance. These changes baffled medical experts, but gave soldiers new advantages on the battlefield. Rumors spread among the population, whispers of a gift hidden inside the illness, a power waiting to be unlocked. Governments issued warnings to avoid panic but encouraged people to report unusual symptoms. In response, the Krolith ramped up their own research. They sent specialists to study the virus's effects, trying to regain control of their creation. They developed countermeasures, hoping to adapt the virus or release new strains that would succeed where the first failed. Tensions rose. The war was no longer just a fight on distant planets or in deep space. It was a war inside bodies, inside Minza. Battle for survival that no one could see. Amidst this struggle, human soldiers prepared for conflict on all fronts. Space fleets trained for combat against the Krolith warships, ground forces fortified. Their defenses and intelligence operatives worked to uncover enemy plans. The virus was just one part of a larger war. But it had changed everything. Captain Jackson, a pilot famed for daring missions and quick thinking, was briefed on the new developments. He listened carefully as scientists explained the virus's strange effects. His squadron was being trained to operate with the enhanced reflexes and endurance some colonists had developed. "We're fighting a war unlike any before," Jackson said quietly. "Not just with guns and ships, but inside ourselves. We have to be ready for anything." His team nodded, feeling the weight of the task ahead. Back on Earth, families lived with a mixture of fear and hope. Schools taught children how to protect themselves, communities supported those who were sick, and everyday life carried on with a new sense of urgency. News broadcasts carefully balanced facts and reassurances, trying to keep people calm without hiding the truth. The virus had changed humanity's world forever. In the darkness of space, the Krolith commanders grew desperate. Their weapon had failed to destroy humans. Instead, it had unleashed something they could not control, an enemy that adapted, evolved, and grew stronger. The silent war within the human body was becoming a turning point. The fight for survival was no longer about who had the bigger fleet or stronger weapons. It was about who could endure, adapt, and rise above the deadly gifts sent from the stars, and humanity was ready to fight back. The Krolith thought they had delivered a silent, deadly blow to humanity. But they had missed something critical, a blind spot in their plan that would soon become their undoing. While the virus spread quietly across Earth and its colonies, something unexpected was happening. Humans were not only surviving the bioweapon, they were learning to use it against the enemy. Earth's secret labs, hidden beneath cities and scattered across distant colonies, buzzed with urgent activity. Scientists pored over samples of the virus, its genetic code, and its effects on human subjects. The more they studied, the clearer it became. The virus was not just a weapon, but a key to unlocking new human potential. It triggered mutations that enhanced human endurance, reflexes, and immune responses in surprising ways. Military leaders saw a chance to turn the tide. Special forces and intelligence operatives were deployed on covert missions, tasked with spreading a modified version of the virus deep into enemy territories. This modified virus was engineered to target the Krolith species specifically, exploiting weaknesses the humans had discovered in the alien biology. The first strikes were surgical and precise. Small squads infiltrated enemy ships and colonies, releasing the virus with care and stealth. Within days, enemy soldiers began falling ill, not with deadly symptoms, but with debilitating fatigue, blurred vision, and slowed reflexes. Their combat effectiveness plummeted, and morale took a crushing blow. Alien commanders were baffled. Their mighty fleets were faltering against an enemy that seemed to grow stronger with every passing day. Panic rippled through their ranks. They scrambled to develop antidotes and countermeasures. But the virus evolved faster than they could react. Back on Earth, the public remained unaware of the full scale of this biological war. News reports spoke cautiously about outbreaks and quarantine, efforts careful not to reveal the secret offensive operations underway. But within military circles, hope blossomed. Captain Jackson led one of the first missions to spread the modified virus aboard a Krolith dreadnought. The operation was risky. Enemy patrols were vigilant and the ship's defenses were formidable. Yet Jackson's team moved with precision and determination. slipping through corridors and ventilation shafts to release the virus deep inside the ship's systems. Within days, the Dreadnought's crew was crippled, systems malfunctioned, pilots lost their edge, and chaos reigned. The ship was forced to retreat, marking a turning point in the war. But the victory was bittersweet. The virus's spread was not without consequences. Some humans began to experience side effects and unexpected symptoms, fatigue, and in rare cases, severe illness. Scientists worked around the clock to understand and mitigate these risks. They balanced the power of the virus against its dangers, knowing that the war's outcome depended on this delicate edge. Meanwhile, the Krolith redoubled their efforts. They launched new attacks, desperate to regain lost ground. Battles raged across space and on contested planets, brutal and unrelenting. Yet wherever the modified virus was present, human forces held firm. Stories of human resilience and cunning spread across the galaxy. Allies and neutral species watched in awe as Earth turned the tables, transforming a weapon meant to kill into a tool for survival and victory. But the war was far from over. The virus was a double-edged sword, powerful, but unpredictable. Humans had to walk a fine line between using it to win and risking their own destruction. As Captain Jackson prepared for the next mission, he understood the stakes better than anyone. This war was no longer just about ships and weapons, it was a fight for the very essence of life itself. The enemy had made their mistake. It unleashed a weapon they could not control. And humanity was ready to strike back with the force of a storm. The virus had become humanity's secret weapon, symbol of cleverness and hope in a war that seemed impossible to win. But as the months passed, the true cost of wielding such a weapon began to reveal itself. The line between strength and danger blurred, and the world found itself facing challenges no one had expected. On Earth and the human colonies, the modified virus spread through enemy lines, weakening their forces and disrupting their plans. Military commanders praised its effectiveness, yet whispered fears grew in scientific circles. The virus, born in alien labs, but evolved through human ingenuity, was changing, mutating in ways no one fully understood. Reports came of new symptoms among humans. Fatigue deepened into long-lasting weakness. Some suffered from strange fevers, hallucinations, and sudden collapses. Though rare, these cases worried doctors and leaders alike. They struggled to find treatments that worked. While fearing the virus's unpredictable behavior, amidst this uncertainty, the virus also began affecting the enemy in unexpected ways. The Krolith and their allies developed partial immunity but faced new symptoms that left soldiers confused and disoriented. Command structures faltered as the virus disrupted communication and coordination. The battlefield became a chaotic dance of shifting power and sudden strikes. The ethical debate among humanity's leaders intensified. Was it right to use a bioweapon, even if it meant saving countless lives? What if the virus escaped control, or worse, mutated into something more deadly? These questions haunted the halls of power, where decisions were made that could shape the future of all life. In secret laboratories, scientists worked tirelessly to monitor the virus's evolution. They developed new strains designed to be more targeted and less harmful to humans, but the virus often surprised them. It adapted quickly, responding to treatments and spreading in new ways. Meanwhile, the enemy prepared their own countermeasures. Desperate to end the war, they began experimenting with new bioweapons, chemical agents, and cyber attacks. The conflict escalated into a multi-dimensional war, fought not only in space but within bodies and minds. Captain Jackson's squadron faced the reality of these dangers firsthand. Missions became riskier as some team members showed signs of infection side effects. The squadron's strength was tested not just by enemy fire, but by the hidden battle raging inside themselves. During one critical mission, Jackson barely escaped collapse after being exposed to a mutated strain. His recovery was slow, and his perspective changed. He saw the virus not only as a weapon, but as a reminder of the fine line humanity walked between victory and destruction. Despite these challenges, humanity's rage and will to survive burned bright. The virus, once a feared enemy, had become a tool forged in the fires of war. It was a testament to human adaptability and the power of unity in the face of overwhelming odds. Yet, as the war dragged on, questions lingered in every heart. Could humanity control the weapon they wielded? Or was this power a curse that might one day consume them all? The answer would come in the battles ahead, where every choice mattered and every moment held the weight of the future. The war had stretched on for years now, but the tide was turning. The modified virus, once a simple tool, had become a key weapon in humanity's fight against the Croath and their allies. The small, invisible enemy had spread across enemy worlds, sabotaging fleets, breaking defenses, and weakening morale. What the Croath had planned as a swift end to humanity was now their greatest nightmare. Across the galaxy, humans pushed forward. Space fleets launched coordinated strikes on enemy strongholds, while ground forces reclaimed planets that had long been lost. The virus spread silently with every attack, infiltrating ships, stations, and colonies. Enemy soldiers grew weaker and less coordinated, falling prey to symptoms that slowed their minds and bodies. The Croath and their allies were forced to retreat, their grand plans collapsing under the weight of a war they could no longer control. Some alien species began to question their leaders, seeking peace talks and ceasefires. The fear of human rage was now matched by fear of the virus, an unstoppable force born from their own making, but victory came at a price. Humans had lost countless lives, shattered cities, and families torn apart. The virus, while a weapon, had also caused suffering among humans. Some regions still battled outbreaks of mutated strains. The medical teams worked tirelessly to care for the sick and prevent new mutations. Amidst the chaos, new alliances formed. Humans reached out to alien races who wished for peace, building fragile partnerships that could help rebuild a war-torn galaxy. Leaders spoke of a future where trust could replace fear, but the scars of war ran deep. Captain Jackson, now a veteran of countless battles, reflected on the journey. From the first warning signs to this moment of hope, he had seen humanity's rage in full force. It was a rage not born of hatred, but of survival, a fierce determination to protect home and kin. The final battles were brutal, testing every ounce of courage and strength. Yet with the virus as their secret weapon, humans fought smarter and harder than ever before. Every victory brought new hope. Every loss steeled their resolve. And as the enemy fleets dwindled, Earth prepared for the next phase, healing and rebuilding. The virus that once threatened to destroy had instead become the catalyst for a new era, one where humanity's spirit could no longer be ignored. The war was not yet fully over, but the end was near. The galaxy had learned a harsh lesson: never underestimate humans. They were a force born of fire and fury, shaped by survival and rage, and their story was far from finished. The war had finally come to an end, but the galaxy was forever changed. Earth and its people had survived the bioweapon, meant to destroy them. They had turned a weapon of death into a symbol of strength, cunning, and unbreakable spirit. Yet the cost had been high. The future remained uncertain. The Croath and their allies retreated, battered and broken. Their fleets were shattered, their armies weakened by the virus that humans had mastered. Some factions called for peace, tired of endless fighting and destruction. Others whispered of revenge, vowing that humanity's time of fury would come to an end. On Earth, the scars of war were visible everywhere. Cities lay in ruins, families mourned lost loved ones, and survivors struggled to rebuild their lives. But amidst the rubble, hope blossomed. Governments worked together to restore order and create a new world, one that would never forget the price of survival. Scientists studied the virus's legacy. They worked to create cures for those still affected and to ensure that such a weapon could never threaten humanity again. The virus had changed human biology in subtle ways, some beneficial, some concerning. Medical experts warned that vigilance was essential. For the virus could evolve once more, diplomats reached out across the stars, seeking to build alliances with alien races who had suffered during the war. The galaxy was wary but intrigued by Humanity's resilience. Some feared humans, others respected them, but all knew that Earth's place in the cosmic order had changed forever. Captain Jackson stood on a hill overlooking a recovering city. He thought about the battles fought, the friends lost, and the rage that had driven humanity to victory. He knew that peace was fragile and that new challenges would arise. But he also believed in the strength of his people, their ability to endure, adapt, and fight for their future. The virus had been called a cold by humans, a word that seemed small and harmless. But it had been a storm, a test, and a weapon. It had shown the universe the truth about humanity. They were survivors, warriors shaped by fire, and never to be underestimated. As the stars twinkled above, the galaxy held its breath. A new dawn had arrived, a dawn born from the ashes of war and the fierce rage of a species that refused to be broken. And so, the story ended for now. But in every shadow, in every whisper of the wind, the promise remained. Humanity's rage would rise again, if ever threatened. The cold had passed, but the fire within would never die.